Seychelles, my native land. I'm going back to the Seychelles, where the clock chimes twice. I'm going back to the Seychelles.
Welcome to a new edition of Seselwa Annou Koze. Today our guest on the program is Topat. Topat, welcome to our program.
Thank you, John.
Today we are conducting this interview in English, Topat, because you want to launch an appeal to all Seychellois living abroad.
Correct.
Right? Topat has decided to invite all our brothers and sisters living outside Seychelles to come back to their country. And I think you have some good incentives you and your party is offering your party.
We would like to consider that, yes.
Yes, and as we all know, a lot of Seychellois had to leave their homeland, the place where they were born, because of their political beliefs after the coup in 1977. Some of them were forced out of their country, were practically kicked out, and following the death or disappearances of their close ones, and they had to immigrate to different parts of the world like Australia, Canada, and the UK, United States. And this is something very, very unfair. Just because someone doesn't believe in a government or system, they have to be treated that way. And today, Topat will be launching this appeal for them to come back and contribute to their country to make it better. Yeah, Topat, my first question for you. Why the invitation and why now?
Well, John, I think why now is simply because change is coming to the country, and we need all hands on board this ship of state to make sure that we change direction and we are stronger to be able to brave the waves. I met a nurse recently, about 3 weeks ago in Victoria, who I knew when I was Minister of Health. And in talking to her, I asked, when are you going to come back? I didn't ask her whether she was going to come back. She says, actually, very soon, because I'm working in the UK. I have a colleague who also is in the same county as I am, and we're both thinking of coming back. This prompted the appeal that I am doing today, because I think change will come sooner than we expect, because the dinosaur must go.
Okay. Topat, is there any country in particular where you're targeting people to come back, or you're just making a general appeal?
I think the appeal, John, is very general. As you have rightly pointed out, we have Seychellois who are living in a myriad of countries. I think the majority of them, because of the historical links with Seychelles, moved to UK, either because they have friends were there, family were there, or because the UK government was more receptive to people who were looking for political asylum. But you have quite rightly mentioned Australia, you've mentioned the United States, but they're all over the place. You have a number in New Zealand, for example, a number who moved to South Africa. I recently learned of a student who performed very well when I was director of the Polytechnic, who's working in the hospitality industry in the Bahamas. So the point I'm making is that we have a lot of skilled professional Seychellois overseas, most of whom have been trained by the Seychelles government and who are actually wanting to come back, but who were forced to leave their home. They were not necessarily forced because they lost their job. I think the question of victimization and fear and the lack of liberty of expression, free speech, the fact that we were under a dictatorship just made it easier for them to make the move as opposed to freely wanting to try and have a life in a different country. So you're safe in saying that they were forced to leave their land, and I am almost convinced that many of them are now wanting to come back to contribute in a freer system, a more modern democratic system. And the other reason I'd like to say, John, is that we want Seychellois to come back is because a lot of our areas, service areas in particular in Seychelles, need professional, capable cadres to come and boost the performance of the system in Seychelles. And who better to serve their homeland than those who've been forced to leave their homeland?
Okay, you're talking about professionals, not bad. I know for a fact that there's a lot of Seychellois professionals living abroad. There's even Seychellois running hospitals abroad. I mean, they are surgeons, heart surgeons and all. They could have been here contributing to our health system, you know, and to our economy. And unfortunately, we don't have them around. So when you're talking about professionals, which category of professionals would you more like to see those people back?
Well, I'm talking of every category of profession. I mean, we don't singling out any one particular profession. You see, when you say there are doctors, there are a large, huge myriad and span of professional areas that have lost to overseas. Nursing and teaching is one in particular. But you also have Seychellois who trained overseas who decided to stay there for the time being because they just couldn't bear to come back and serve the system which they felt at the time and still feel is discriminatory. It's full of victimization. It's not a just system, and you have expatriates who are doing the same work as them. They have incentives and they have a pay package that is far superior than the Seychellois would come back. So there is a disincentive, so to speak, for professionals to come back. I know this is the case of a number of Seychellois who are working as doctors in Australia and in New Zealand. We need to review all that. The other reason, John, we're launching this appeal is the fact that increasingly we're finding an larger number of expatriates working in Seychelles. We in L'Alliance Seselwa have got nothing against expatriates. Our policy has made it clear that every person who comes with an open heart to help Seychelles, to contribute to the development of Seychelles, we welcome them well. We're not going to be particular about what nationality they are. The emphasis is that if their heart is in Seychelles, their competencies and their skills are beneficial to the development of a modern Seychelles, we welcome them with open arms. But the number of expatriates now working in Seychelles could be, a number of these posts could be localized if we had our professionals coming from overseas, and in any case, as I said, who better than them to understand the culture, the situation in which they're functioning, and the expertise that they've had in various fields overseas, of course, will come in as a winner to ensure that we benefit, because in going away, we lost somehow, but in the long term we gain because they're bringing back valuable and rich experience.
Okay. Topat, is this appeal also directed towards Seychellois investors living abroad? And if yes, what will your government offer them? I mean, do you have any specific incentives you'd like to offer these people to encourage them to come back?
Well, John, that is a very good question, because a number of people have made it good. I know in Australia, a lot of people have made it good. I know some friends there who are now into real estate, and they've done extremely well. Yes, I'm asking investors, Seychellois, to come back and invest here. There's a huge area, a huge number of areas where they can invest. It's not only we talk of the service area, we talk of hospitality in small guest houses, small hotels, but there are areas as diverse as private hospitals, old people's home, private schools. We need more competition, more professional services, and as Margaret Thatcher used to say, we need more choice. And I think it's important to say that those who make the money out there, who have the ties here. And as the Jamaicans say, if the umbilical cord is buried under the apple tree, in our case under the breadfruit tree or the visitor tree, come back to where your umbilical cord is buried.
Okay. Yeah, but on the whole, Topat, as you're inviting everybody, well, every Seychellois to come back, your party, what do they have to offer? It's not only like you've just spoken about the investors, but the ordinary Seychellois. Do you have any specific incentives, like maybe give them tax exemptions on when they come back on certain things which will help them resettle back here? Tell us a bit about this.
That, John, is also a very relevant question at this point in time, because I'm sure if I was living in London and wanting to uproot after 15 years and come back to Mahe, I would want to know what's the attraction other than family ties and emotions and memories. I think the first thing is to say that we're creating a dedicated email address that will allow Seychellois interested in coming back to Seychelles to give us the information precisely on a number of areas. First of all, they would need to send their own CV, their biodata, the areas of interest, their areas of expertise overseas in which they have worked or trained. And then one of the things they would like is to have proposals and suggestions as to where they can contribute. Somebody may wish to be the Minister of Tourism. Why not? If he or she has got relevant experience in that field, whichever country he or she is working, they can propose, and we will study all proposals. In that line, I think also it would be best for us in Nalem Seychellois to hear from our compatriots overseas as to what kind of incentives they would expect or they would require us to consider. I say very clearly consider, because I think we're not in a position to say that those who stayed behind will be left behind, in the sense that they will not benefit from a number of incentives to move on. As a friend of mine said yesterday, following the President's appeal to people to wait after the elections, he's going to fix the conditions for SMEs, small and medium enterprises. Somebody said to me, well, at the rate we're going, after 10 years in power, if the President has not been able to fix the climate for SMEs, then all SMEs will grow into small, miniature and not fully grown plants, which we call bonsai. In other words, they'll age, but they will not have grown or expanded. So we would welcome, through that dedicated email address, we would welcome suggestions from our compatriots overseas as to how they would like us to help them relocate or resettle in Seychelles, and all suggestions will be treated confidentially and given very, very good attention by us in the party.
Yeah. Topat, so how do they contact your party? You mentioned an email address. What's the email address?
The email address, you will find it on your screen, is seychelloiscomehome@gmail.com. That will be easier, and as I say, I repeat what I've just said, that any suggestions, any ideas that you have, we would welcome them, because we'd like to compile a study as to what your expectations are if you were to come back, what way we as a party in government will be able to help you without discriminating against those like myself, like others who have stayed behind and toiled through very difficult circumstances politically and economically.
Okay. Well, that was Topat. Topat, thanks for your time.
Thank you, John.
And as usual, a little conclusion. As you've all heard, and I'm addressing especially the people watching from abroad, Topat is giving us, is giving you guys the opportunity to come back home. I think it's the first time a politician comes on air and makes this appeal, because I think this is really, really important. It's a good step towards our democracy and and the development of our country, to get every capable Seychellois living anywhere around the world to come back and contribute in our country to try and bring it forward.
Absolutely, John. I think the first step which we would have to take in forming a government is to bring unity and healing. And I specifically think on this aspect of healing, it being the operational word in the formula, that there are a number of people who need to come out and tell their story. And I think in being here, that kind of healing will not only be for them, but for us as well. Because a number of us were part of that process whereby some were hurt. And I think when you're hurt, we all go through some kind of process or fracture or injury as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. And that healing process is very important. And that is why also we are asking our compatriots, if you feel that you've been badly done in by the government or people and you need this kind of healing or closure, this is the time to come and help us all as a nation to have closure, to be healed as a nation, to be united as a nation. And after that, we can move ahead into the next level of our development as a modern democracy.
Okay, that was Topat. Once again, I'd like to thank you, Topat, for your contribution, and for all of you watching. We will meet soon in another program. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.